Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here, and I have the honor of having Mr. Yosef Lee here. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you? Thank you, Austin, for having me on your show. This is very exciting.
It's my pleasure. So, high-powered Superman attorney by day, multifamily investor, Facebook group manager by night, correct?
Yes, that's what I do.
So what I like to do with my guests is let them tell their story and start where they want to, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so a little bit of my background. I'll try to make it brief as possible. So I came to the US at the age of 18. Well, it was like a month shy of 18. And ever since just like other immigrants are doing, just working nonstop through the college and years, I had 10 different jobs. And finally, I decided to go to law school with the dream of being a cool, wealthy professional, right? That's some sort of my dream. So I became a lawyer after spending years of law school. But picture this. I was working full-time while I was going to law school. So I was working full-time from 9 to 6 as a paralegal in a law firm, which I became an attorney now. And but I had to cut 1 hour to make commuting time to go to school. So I worked on Saturday to make up 5 hours from each weekday, right? So for free. So I worked 6 days a week, taking night classes of law school for about 2 years. And after law school, it's done around 10 at night, and I go to 24-hour coffee shop to study because I know if I go home, I'm gonna fall asleep. So then I will stay there till like 2, 3 a.m., go home, get some sleep on the couch, wake up, go to work by 8 in the morning. This was the pattern I had for 2.5 years. And there were many days I could only sleep like 3-4 hours a day to catch up the amount of studies. So after all this, like huge amount of effort from my end, in 2013, I took New York, New Jersey bar, I passed and became a lawyer. And, during the law school, I was blessed to become a father of 2 kids. And I thought, finally, this will open a door to become financially free, right? Fast forward.
All you had to do, right, was have kids, go to school, and then you're wealthy. That's it.
Yeah. That's what I thought, right? Fast forward 2018, I was still hustling, working hours and hours, and was nowhere close to rich, right? I make some money, but spent all of them, living expenses, paying the bills. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I still love my job. I was just, that each year I worked harder and harder just to make my ends meet and realizing, I only have a few hours left to truly spend with my kids, right? So I've got fed up with this reality. And one day I grabbed a book. Like I realized, okay, I'm trapped in a rat race as a W-2 employee, regardless of how much money I make. So I realized for the first time, if you think about it, about 3-4 months of each year, you actually work essentially for free to feed the government by paying tax. Because it's in New York, its income tax is about 30-35%. And I realized, although there are many ways to write off the tax liabilities, I couldn't do it because I'm W-2. So this was like a tunnel without a light at the end. So I concluded that, okay, I got to become a business owner or some type of investor eventually so that I could build passive income stream with tax benefits to achieve true financial freedom. Because I was into freedom of time. And, I started looking for my ideal investment vehicles. I've tried, stocks, mutual funds, REITs. And finally, I landed in 2019 on multifamily apartment investing. It just came to me as with so many benefits, and I thought it was just no-brainer not to do it, especially being able to control the valuation of the asset side. So I did about a year of self-studying, realizing again that self-education is way to go first, but in the end, it's not actually taking a massive action. I was just merely passively absorbing someone else's information and thought I was doing and I was taking an action by that. So I decided to stop doing it, and I started taking action by joining some mastermind groups and meeting like-minded people, putting aside all the naysayers about the real estate investing, and so on and so forth. And 2020, I think late February or March, I joined a great group of people, Jake and Gino and MIH Mastermind, where I was able to surround myself with highly motivated, like-minded investors who are just go-getters, making it happeners. And again, fast forward, my goal was to close my first multifamily deal in 2020. Mm-hmm. I think I told you this when we met back in October. Mm-hmm. And finally, last month, I was able to close my first deal in the multifamily, which happened. Like I made my goal true, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So I was very, very glad. I was surprised by the fact that I was able to really do it. And when I didn't really have any commercial real estate experience, or not even single or duplex, I jumped straight into multifamily, and I was able to make it happen. So I think it could be a good example for those who are looking into coming to multifamily. I could do it; they can do it. So here I am.
No, I love that, and congrats on your first property. That's amazing, and we'll unpack that whole thing. But what's interesting to me is that how do you keep everything together? Like there's a lot that takes out of a lawyer, like knowing that you were going to take time studying, knowing that you were going to have to network with individuals. Like, how did you find the time? But more importantly, like, were you aware of the commitment that it was going to take in addition to your duties as a husband and a lawyer?
Yes, I think I had to be more strategic to become more efficient and effective. In that sense, I had to make sure I could manage my time efficiently. And I asked my parents and my wife and kids for some time to set aside for this multifamily. In exchange, in return, I promised more focused quality time with them, maybe during the weekends. And so it's like a power play with them, right?
Well, ultimately what you did, though, what a lot of people don't do, is that you ask for what you need. Like you made it very clear. Instead of saying, well, this is what I'm going to do and just deal with it, you said, look, this is what I want to do because I have this vision for our family. And then ultimately, by doing this, we're going to, you're going to even get more of my time eventually.
Right. And more quality time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And so, what would you tell the people out there that are in that corporate job or in that job where they're working those long hours? What would you tell them, to give them hope and like understand that, like, you just did close your first property, so it can happen.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I think first thing first, they need to realize that they're in a rat race, sort of, if they're W-2. Because a lot of times they don't realize that. They think they're killing their job, they're doing well, they're making a lot of money. That's good. However, I mean, they're still trapped, right? Because they paid high taxes, they don't have any passive income, everything is their active income. And they have to realize one day, what if something happens to them, right? What if something happens to you? I thought about it. What if I got into an accident and I can't use my legs anymore? I can't go to court. What if I lose my eyesight? I know I'm being too extreme at this point. However, that's something that could happen. I saw, a friend of mine passed away early age because of heart attack, because of an accident. That got me into, okay, I have to create some sort of financial fortress to protect my family. Otherwise, when I'm gone or something happens to me, what are they going to do? They're going to suffer. So I think that's the first thing that the people have to realize, that they're actually very vulnerable. They just don't realize. And once they realize it, they have to make sure that they plan out something to get to financial freedom, because you can't just become an investor right away. They have to make sure they follow certain plans, they plan out and take in actions. So I think self-education comes into play that way.
What's interesting to me, right? I've never understood this, and I'm not saying that. Yes, if you have a great job and you're making good money, I love it. But like just like you realize, is that you can get the promotion, and it can be 20, 30, 40 grand promotion, and it feels great. But technically, after taxes, you're probably only making like 20 grand or 15 grand. Like, yeah, that promotion might, and then more importantly, with the promotion, how much more time do they want of you? It's like the carrot and the stick, right?
Right, right. So obviously they promote you to make you work harder and more. Obviously, that's an extension of your time. So the more money you make, the more time and energy you're gonna be spending stuck in your job. So the last time you're gonna be spending with your family, which goes totally against of your goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think a true way to achieve financial freedom of time is through stacking up passive income streams.
And how are you cool to kind of give them the nuts and bolts of how you found your partners, how you found the deal, and then walk us through the deal?
Sure, I can do that. Okay, so first of all, I think you gotta. What I did was self-education, because before putting yourself out there as someone looking for a partnership, you gotta be able to tell them what kind of value you can bring to the table, right? I hate when somebody comes to me and asks me, "Hey, I want to be a partner with you," and I could do anything you tell me to do. Now, okay, you're giving me more job now to figure it out. Like now I gotta analyze who you are, and I gotta spend my time to think what kind of work I could give to you, right? So what I did was, before, I gotta think about, okay, what I'm good at and what kind of value I could bring to the table. In my case, it was, I had this legal experience. Although I'm not real estate attorney, I could read the contract, I could vet the contract, I could make it more easy to I could make it easier for you to understand the contract. I could deal with I could negotiate the contract, insurance companies, that's all I do. And when we scale the business, I could help scale up the business side, because I'm business savvy as well. And that's something that I could put out as a value adding. And then I asked them, since I'm out of state investors, I need someone who could be my boots on the ground as a point person, and also someone who can help me to raise the capital. So first thing, you got to know what dream team you're going to have, and then what role you can take. And then you put yourself out there looking for the other pieces of the puzzle. I think that's the first thing.
Yeah, and I think ultimately what people have to understand is like the information's available. So when you get in front of somebody, right, that's maybe more skilled or farther along than you have, like it would be beneficial if you were to do some homework on your own, so you could ask some questions and really value kind of just like hone in on the getting the most value out of said conversation.
Which is true. A lot of times you don't know what you don't know, and you just come and ask very basic questions, which is okay. But then that tells me that, okay, this guy didn't do his homework, right? He could have just easily typed something on Google and at least find out some basic stuffs and construct your question in a more meaningful way to get engaged in the better conversation.
No,
But
100, yeah,
by just asking me that question, it kind of totally turned me off.
no, 100%. Like I did I did a long Airbnb talk the other day for a big company, like a
Mhm.
bunch of companies, and I went into depth on all these great things. And the first question out of the gate was like, "How do you start an LLC?" And I was like, "I'm done. I can't." I was like, like, what are we doing here? Like, I can't
Right,
do
right,
this, you know."
right.
And so, what was the first deal that y'all just closed on? How big was that?
The first deal is 44 unit apartment complex in Lawrence, Kansas.
Okay. You ever
Um,
been to Lawrence, Kansas?
Not yet. That's amazing, right?
Yeah,
I never been to Kansas before, and yet I could still own property there.
I love
Isn't
it.
that
So,
crazy?
that's the joy. So tell us about the deal.
Sure. So it's 1963 vintage, probably C-class type, where we needed some value add components. 43 units, all 2 bedroom and 1 bath, right? It was a seller direct off market deal. We didn't have to compete, so because a friend of mine's partners, a friend knew the owner directly, so we just spoke to the owner directly. We didn't really have to compete with each other. The owner was true mom and pop owner. What happened was, like, I think the owner wanted to stop managing this property, so just wanted to get rid of it. And one thing that proved us that the owner was true mom and pop was a partner of mine went to the property to pick up the documents, leases and all that. We were expecting PDF or Excel, all that, but what my partner brought was like a big box of documents, and he had to just scramble all the papers, and he had to scan everything in. I think it was like a couple hundred pages. So, which is good. That tells us, okay, he's a true mom and pop, right? And this deal, I think we submitted a letter of intent back in September of 2020 and got it under contract in October. Obviously, he was a motivated seller. He wanted to make sure we could close in 2020. So, which was okay. Yeah, we wanted that, right? The average rent is approximately 150 or 200 lower than surrounding other apartments, which tells us that there's a huge upside where we could come in and do better management and raise the rent, right? And I remember there was one tenant whose lease was up, and she just renewed with $60 raised rent without us fixing anything, right? So there was no renovation at all. She just leased it up $60 more, which tells us that, okay, we could even, if we fix something, we could even try $100 or even 150, right? So it's still, we're fixing a couple units now, returning it because it wasn't empty, and we are trying to lease it in a few months. It's been over 90% economically occupied, which shows strong rental market there. We did 80% of loan to cost from local community bank.
Okay.
So 80% of our closing costs, I mean, not closing costs, our purchase cost, and then 80% of the rehab, the CapEx budgets are covered by the bank.
And so what gives you the confidence, somebody that's listening to this who is looking to eventually scale up to multifamily or invest with a group, what gives you the confidence to be in New York and invest in a state that you've never been to?
So, shortly speaking, I'm going to tell you what kind of limiting belief I had before starting all this, right? My limiting beliefs were, okay, there's no way that I can invest outside of my backyard. How can I trust others? You're going to probably need a lot of money to start. I should start probably small with single or duplex before going to multifamily. And, education is cost. I was able to crush all this limiting beliefs through right education, not listening to the naysayers, and surrounding myself with like-minded people, being connected with mentors and right partners, and you just constantly take the actions and persistently trying to add value to the team and just fall in love with the process. You got to believe in yourself. Well, I sound more like, I guess, abstract at this point, but which is true. Everything starts from the mental mindset, and I'm sure you agree with that. And practically, you just need to keep educating yourself and just talking to the people who've done it, and find a way to do it.
And from a partnership group scenario, because typically multifamilies are taken down by a group of people with skills, is I think the hardest thing in a group of people, let's say 4 guys, especially if you're not there, is understanding that you as a partner, whether it be capital, you're a lawyer, all these things, there is value as a member of the team, and you as a person have to not, you can't second guess that your value is needed, and understand that it's a group that's going together, matching all perfect skills to invest in properties.
Yes, that's very important. That's why like I said before, you gotta know yourself. You gotta know who you are and how you're gonna add value to the group. When I was looking for partners, I just didn't look at the skill sets they could bring in. You gotta see the personality, work ethic, gotta see their philosophy, life philosophy as well, because it's like more of getting into a marriage where you got to make sure your interest is aligned together, not only financially, but also everything, like for long-term partnership. And to be able to do that, you also need to show that what kind of person you are. Like you're hardworking, you're smart, and you can add a certain skill set to the team. And when I look at a good team in multifamily investing sector, I see a team that's comprised of, like I said, capital raiser, someone who could bring the deal to the table, who's good at finding it and underwriting it. And I think legal skill set is one thing too, business savvy, and who has some experience that can oversee the entire process. So you gotta always have to have somebody who has a little more experience than you, who has done the job before. Otherwise, if everyone is newbie, you're not gonna be taken seriously by the lenders and brokers, right? So you gotta have somebody in the team. So
Well,
those are. Go ahead.
well, no, what's interesting about multifamily, and this is where people get it twisted, it's not always about the price. Can
Oh,
you
it's not.
close the deal? What does your team look like? And when you become a team that can close, people notice and start giving you more deals. And that's really what it's about in multifamily.
Right. That's right, and that's why you need to have certain people in the group, and not the other way around. Because the lender, I remember when I was closing this, before closing this deal, I had another deal which is still we were working. There, the lender told me, "Okay, so who has done this syndication before in your team?" That was the question. If if I had like millions and millions of dollars, and if my partner is a killer underwriter, and another partner is a boots on the ground, but if we had done any deal before, we're done. Like the lender is not going to consider us. So we have to be able to tell them, oh yeah, so and so my team has done syndication before. Okay, checked. Okay,
Yeah.
next. Who's going to be taking care of the balance sheet, right? Who's the net worth guy here? Oh, I have so and so who could take care of that. It's a key partner, right? So every component you gotta understand who's needed in the team, and be able to collect that pieces of puzzles to picture the entire painting.
I haven't told this story before, but we put an offer on 134 units right before COVID. The guy was asking too much. We tried, but I met with the broker who had been in the business like 20 years. And he told me a story that changed my life. He said, I have a client that I met 10 years ago who was worth like $300 million. And
Cool.
the guy was like, I'm just going to be a multifamily investor, and I'm just going to buy like 20, 40, $50 million properties, and I'll just pay cash.
Mhm.
And the broker said, no, they're not going to sell to you. And the guy was like, I don't understand what you're saying. And he goes, it's not about the money. He said, we have to systematically put you in the room with these people and polish up your portfolio and your track record. And over time, we'll start with B's and C's, and then we'll build you up, because he wanted to buy double A's. And he
Mhm.
said, no, that doesn't work that way. He said, we've got to polish you up. And so over a 7-year period, they bought stuff on purpose, fixed it up, and created this track record. And then he was eventually ready to buy a $42 million piece of property. And it was very crazy to me that that's how it works in multifamily. It made me think that like that's what it's about.
Yes, it's a relationship business. It's not only about you being able to buy it. It's not about purchase power. It's all about relationship and
No,
building a team.
for sure. And so the team that I guess the one question that I haven't ever asked about multifamily, you put up money, you're helping with the lawyer fee. When somebody goes in a deal like that, what percentage of the deal are you getting in something like that?
So are you specifically
I mean,
asking like
like what
if
I'm trying to understand is for somebody that's listening to this, I want
Mhm,
to invest in multifamily. I know I've got to put up some money or my time or whatever, but
mhm.
how does it like do you get 50% of the deal? Do you have 70% of the deal? Like how does that work?
Okay, so let me make it simplified. So there are two different types of deal structure. One is called syndication, and the other is called joint venture. So joint venture is more like a general partnership where a few people come together and put some money into it, and then share the deal based on how much money they put in, right? And everyone's got to be an active investor there. No one's passive. Syndication, on the other hand, it's a little different because now we have two different groups. One is sponsor group, general partners. The other group is limited partners. Limited partners just put money into the deal and just get the equity share based on how much they put in. Sponsor group GPs usually vet the deal and find the deal, make sure the deal is good enough by inspecting the deal and put earnest money deposit into it, risk money, right? And then make
Mhm.
sure the deal is good enough, then bring it to the limited partners. So what they usually do is they suggest either 80-20% split or 30-70% split between the LPs and GPs. And let's say, for example, our deal that we're working on is, let's say, 30% GP share. So we don't, well, in the beginning, we put some money in, but it's likely to be reimbursed later on from the LP capital. So purely just that standpoint, we get 30% of the deal profit share just by being a GP and LP and putting all this together. And 70% goes to the LPs. And the GP group will usually, they charge acquisition fee of 1% or 2, sometimes 3. And then there will be yearly, that's one time payment, by the way. And yearly, there will be a management fee, 1 or 2 or 3%. But again, this is all based on who's agreeing to what. If LP is agreeing to that, they will come in and invest, right?
Mhm.
So after excluding all that, bottom line, we tell LP, limited partners, after all these expenses, this is the projected cash and cash return that we could confidently present to you. And if they like the numbers, that's when they come in and invest with us.
I love that. And so ultimately, you close this deal. You get to quit your lawyer job. You move to Hawaii. You're retired from one deal, right?
Well, ironically not, because I am willing to shrink my lawyering job, but I'm not gonna give up on it because I just love the way I work here,
And
right?
it
And
allows you the access to put money in more deals.
that's true. So here's the thing. If you're really after passive income only, you're gonna be just doing LPs, right? Because think about it, general partners, sponsor groups, that's active income. It's not passive income.
Mhm.
So if I am truly just after financial freedom side, I will just have to keep making money and shove that into an LP portion for passive income. However, I don't want to do it. Why? Because I'm not just after money, but also after control. I
Mhm.
love control the things. So that's why I am so attracted to GP side, where you could start the process and move things, make sure everybody is in the right place, connecting the dots, and completing the whole picture. That's the
And
process that I love.
and ultimately, what people don't understand, right? We're working on a big deal right now where I would get ownership in the deal,
Hmm.
but I'm not putting any money in. And it's a great project, and I want to do it forever. But what I'm saying is, I'm going to learn from the inside out.
Hmm.
My company's going to run it, my Airbnb company. I get ownership. There's a couple different ways I can make money, but here's the kicker, and this is what they don't tell you: perception is reality.
Oh
And if
yeah.
so, if I do this one deal and everybody sees it, then they're gonna say, "Well, shit, we got to hire him for this job and this job." And so I'm willing to take less here to know that like once you pull this off, you can write your own ticket. And I think that's what I love about multifamily is once you pull off some deals, you can go write your ticket somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you brought that up because that used to be what I used to say, that I called it PPP.
Yeah.
Perception, persistently projected. That's reality.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Think about it this way. Everybody thinks, and don't get me wrong, I record a lot of podcasts, but everybody feels like they see me more than I think. Well, that's because we break apart some of the things and then we post it over here and post it over there. And so it feels like Austin's everywhere. But I mean, like, technically I'm just talking to you right now.
Yes, definitely.
Like, like the video guy scheduling some posts. And so when you understand how leverage works and kind of getting your content and batching your content and, perception is reality is basically PPP, yes. Like you said.
Yes. And it's a great, I think it's a great skill set. Not everyone could think about it. Marketing is open to everyone, but not everyone does that. Mm-hmm. And they think, oh, it's, putting things on the social media. What's that got to do, right? Mm-hmm. It's not going to do anything for me. But I think it's completely wrong. Especially at this post-pandemic era, mm-hmm. you need to engage in social media. Otherwise, you're missing a lot. I mean, you've been missing a lot if you're not engaged in social media until now. But especially now, post-pandemic era, I think it is must thing to do.
Perfect. And if people want to find out more about you or your Facebook groups, how would they do that?
So I have a website called syndicro.com, SYNDICRO.com. And I have a Facebook page and Instagram called Million Door Club. So it's Million Door, not dollar, Million Door, DOR Club.
And more importantly, you have the hottest speaker coming in next month ever. I heard he burns the party down. I heard he just leaves flames when he gets out.
I didn't want to reveal it yet, but yes, I'm having.
I'm sorry. Well, this might not come out for a little bit.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But I'm having Austin Linney coming to my show, and he's gonna burn the stage.
I just leave the mic, and it's just on fire. Well, guys, if you like this episode, make sure you send it out to your friends, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.